If you aren't moving forwards in Formula 1, you might as well be moving backwards. Improving on the initial design of the car is just as important as getting it right in the first place, with mid-season upgrades at key points of the season meaning all the difference between being a backmarker and a front-runner. In no season has this been truer than 2024, with the field being split by under a second at times, so every half a tenth can make a real difference. Just to look at McLaren, the team who was inarguably the slowest in testing last year, having discovered a better path to go down just weeks before testing. The Woking team has since brought 3 absolute sucker punch upgrade programs to fruition, with the most recent one securing Lando Norris his first win in the sport, and giving the other major players, like Ferrari and Red Bull, something to think about. Speaking of Ferrari, their recent Imola upgrades made all the difference at Monaco, securing Charles Leclerc a feel-good home win in the Principality, so it would appear that the Scuderia are maintaining their status as a threat at the front of the field. Meanwhile, a vast majority of the grid is so far yet to make any meaningful progress beyond smoothing over the cracks of their own creation, and there are a couple of teams in particular at risk of falling away entirely, despite their reputations of progressing up the grid in previous years. Want to know who is at risk of falling away? It's unclear as to how well they can even steady the ship at the moment, but if they spend too long fixing their current issues, they will be at risk of being left behind. A team who may have been somewhat caught out this year is Red Bull, who may have seen a gap that they deemed to be comfortable over their competition disappear within the space of 2 race weekends. At the end of last season, Red Bull had seen their advantage over the field whittled down as both McLaren and Ferrari took over from Aston Martin in bringing the heat to the Milton Keynes team. So bringing what looked like a massive departure from last year's car, while members of the team made claims of massive gains across the board, certainly got everyone's tails up, with fears of a gap akin to Brawn in 2009 being present all the way up until testing. Come the first race, the gap wasn't as gargantuan as first imagined, however it was still clear that Red Bull were still a fair few steps ahead of the competition. The first non-Red Bull winner of the year, Carlos Sainz at Melbourne, took the top step in a race where an extraneous circumstance saw Max Verstappen retire from the race, so looked to be an anomaly rather than a change in the pecking order. Cut to a few rounds later, Ferrari and McLaren have seemingly closed the gap on Red Bull at a whiplash pace, while Red Bull have at the very best stood still and at the very worst discovered a fatal flaw within the RB20's car design. The flaw was most visible at the tight Monaco circuit, which saw the ride issues that have been alluded to earlier on in the season by the Red Bull drivers dialed up to 10. The bumpy nature of the track and the curbs made for a miserable weekend for the team who have been historically strong at Monaco, with Max qualifying and meeting the checkered flag in 6th, and Checo being unable to escape Q1 with no opportunity to improve on a dismal qualifying due to Kevin Magnussen doing what he does. The worry for Red Bull is that the curb-dependent circuits or street tracks with public access that render them bumpy will throw up more challenges that Red Bull will struggle with compared to their rivals. While both Max Verstappen and Christian Horner gave track-oriented descriptions of the issues that the team currently faces, Helmut Marko gave a far more worrying and eerily familiar description of the issues. If you cast your mind back to the beginning of the year, people were perplexed at the Mercedes-esque approach that Red Bull had taken, especially in their side pods, and while it's not likely the direct cause of the issues, it seems that Red Bull may have taken something more than just the side pod direction from Mercedes, as Helmut Marko had this to say to Autosport. The basic problem is not the tracks, but the fact that the correlation between the simulator and the track doesn't work. In the simulator, we drive over the curbs without any problems. Here, let's use the Verstappen expression, the car bounces like a kangaroo. That's the problem, which was also evident in the setup at Miami and partly in Imola. Correlation issues are a pretty dangerous thing for a team to face, as all of a sudden it breeds uncertainty in the testing setups. The whole "but the computer says it's okay" approach is the very thing that has crippled Mercedes over the past few years. However, Marko seemed confident that the issues should be contained to this part of the race calendar, as he said. That's where we need to start, but we believe that when we get back to real circuits like Barcelona, for example, we'll find our way back to our old form. Given that VCARB were running last year's suspension and faced no such issues, it's clear that something introduced this year, such as refining their suspension design in further pursuit of aerodynamic performance, is the thing causing the issues. However, the big thing that Red Bull needs to ensure is that they aren't left behind. While yes, they are currently leading the championship and might be strong on the, as Marco says, real tracks, they aren't leading an upgrade race that is integral to such a long season. McLaren have shown 2 years in a row now that they are capable of taking massive leaps forward, and Ferrari bought their own potent upgrade package to Imola that gave them blistering pace over one lap, as exhibited at Monaco. Red Bull are well aware that standing still means being left behind. It's a common adage in the sport that has been used by their own team principal many a time. However, bargaining on a restricted upgrade schedule which relies on higher impact upgrades less often, rather than small boosts over the course of the year, is something which now seems incredibly jeopardous given their newfound insecurity in their simulator correlation. It's yet to be seen if Red Bull will bounce back in Spain as predicted by Marco, or if Jos Verstappen's premonition of Red Bull's dominance coming to an end will be the reality. But one thing's for sure, Red Bull are no longer just fighting on one front, as they must fix their ride issues while also ensuring that they move forward with the rest of the field. Mercedes heavily revised their approach for the 2024 car after 2 seasons of abject misery. Having failed to win for an entire season, something unthinkable just a few years ago, the W15 was given a lot of positivity by the team and its drivers in the run-up to the season. However, like Red Bull have recently discovered, correlation issues can cause a promising package to fall incredibly short when tyre meets track, with the team being podiumless outside of a P2 in the China Sprint so far this season. Despite yet another shaky start, Mercedes are already a step ahead in their upgrade program, having seen positive results from their upgrades brought along to the past 3 races. While team principal Toto Wolff has said the full benefits of the upgrades will come to fruition down the line, the immediate result of them has been a far more stable platform. The main problem faced by the team so far this season is consistency, with the car's strengths and weaknesses being mulliganed between every race weekend, and sometimes the car being rendered unrecognizable mere days apart from the driver's perspective, with both drivers showing a complete bemusement at just how much the car has confused the team in regards to the setup. Toto Wolff is hoping that now a more solid direction for the team has been discovered, the performance can now be added to the car. Having steadied the ship, the team now looks to move beyond the foundations, with Wolff saying, "I think that we were that close in qualifying when you look at the gaps, probably much closer in the race. But at the end, I think overall the trajectory is going in the right direction. I think we've understood where the balance of the car needs to be. We've been bringing bits and pieces in order to enhance that, and as I said yesterday, saw the trajectory going up. But it's maybe like a shell, right? So it's going to be up and down, better tracks, worse tracks, so we're absolutely happy with the approach." Wolff would go on to reference McLaren and their foundational reset having discovered a better direction, with their approach being a clear inspiration to the Brackley team. The start of the year seems to have been focused on fixing the foundations, having found it lacking at the start of the year, with Wolff having this to say about how the team is looking to move forward. "So the thing is that you just got to chip away performance by performance. McLaren did a sensational step last year from one race to the other. They kept adding performance on a concept that functioned. Ferrari has been doing it step by step, and we did it very well last year. This is where I see ourselves, and that's something that we have absolutely as an objective in the short term as well." I would discuss Aston Martin here, however the fact that the team has fallen back into the midfield after their potent start to last season seems to point that their foundations remain entirely dependent on magpieing off of other teams' approaches. The pink Mercedes and the green Red Bull have been the most successful period for the team, and it seems that they are currently lost in regards as to how to actually develop their own car, seeing as how everything they put on the car so far has resulted in a net negative. I'll put it this way, it'll be interesting to see just how long Alonso's patience will last with a team that is stuck in place and showing no signs of progressing.